So then Peace Walker happens, which is like 10 years after MGS3.
Yeah.
Snake
has found his BFF.
Snake has found his BFF,
war buddy forever.
Master Miller, who he met while he was being a mercenary.
He was trying to kill Miller, and then
he was trying to kill him.
They fought so good they became besties or something.
Yeah, after Snake killed all of his friends. You want to be my friend now? You want to be my friend now, Master Miller?
Yeah, Snake, I want to be your friend.
They have some soldiers with them. They start
Am
like
I
this.
the Master Miller to your Snake?
I guess so.
You did kill all of my friends in middle school. I don't know how you got away with that.
I murdered every one of them. Peace Walker starts, so Snake and Master Miller have some soldiers on the side who have been attracted to their way of thinking, which is that we're soldiers with no country.
Right.
We're just soldiers for hire. We do anything for anybody. We just want to live the soldier life.
Yeah.
Soldier life with the LYF.
Soldier life rules. Yeah.
Soldier life.
But they're strapped for cash. They're just like
super strapped for
hanging
cash.
out on the beach. Nobody knows they exist. Nobody wants to hire them. There's hardly any of them. And then one day somebody gives them a big ass job.
They get a big job from a man named Galvez,
who is obviously KGB.
He is KGB, and he wants Big Boss.
He's pretending not to be, but not very well.
Not very well. He has a prosthetic weird hand that has a lighter in the thumb to light cigarettes. Why not? He has another girl with her named Paz. The whole setup is that
who's obviously just a sweet, innocent girl who loves peace.
Yep,
nothing weird going on with her.
They're in Central America. For some reason, there are soldiers from America, the CIA, coming in. They're bringing a ton of equipment.
Costa Rica.
In Costa Rica. They're bringing in a ton of equipment for some reason. This KGB guy, Galvez, wants Snake to drive the Americans out of Costa Rica so that they can then use the rebel faction, the Sandinistas, to overthrow the government, make it a communist, a socialist place so that they can cut off Central America from the U.S. and win the Cold War.
Which is the perfect job for the boss's... He's named it at this point, right?
He's named
Military Sans Frontier.
Militaire sans frontières.
Sans Frontier.
Military without borders.
He's like, okay, this guy's got deep pockets. Mm-hmm. It's anti-U.S. We're all from the U.S., but if we then we prove like the legitimacy of our statements.
Also, Big Boss is tempted to do this because
the CIA fucked over the boss.
Well, it's because Paz, who he brought with him, Galvez says that she got captured by the CIA because she was just recording bird calls with a friend. She escaped, but what she recorded on her tape was two women talking, one of the women being the boss, supposedly still alive. And this is what really gets Big Boss interested in the whole thing.
And like Miller is convinced because it's perfect for them for a business perspective.
Because the payment isn't money, but it's a giant offshore plant that nobody is using where they can set up Mother Base in the ocean. And then, so Snake eventually starts to investigate this stuff, meets a scientist named Huey Emmerich, who is the friend of Granin from MGS3.
He's not my favorite, but he's very similar to my favorite.
Yeah.
For an obvious reason.
He is the American friend of Granin, and he was sent the blueprints for that bipedal locomotion system.
And then just scratched out Granin on all of them and wrote in Huey.
Essentially stole it. He is working for a CIA guy who runs the unit, the soldier unit called the Peace Sentinels, who are also all in Costa Rica. They are bringing nukes into Costa Rica. They have several AI weapons, which are like the Shagohod or other robotic weapon platforms controlled by AI. Huey was being forced to work on a nuclear deterrence platform that was a all-terrain bipedal vehicle that could launch nukes without human judgment, so that assured destruction, assured retaliation was always 100% guaranteed.
The CIA op is being run by a man called Hot Coldman.
Hot Coldman was one of the dudes responsible for Operation Snake Eater from MGS3.
And his belief is that the idea of nuclear deterrence, mutually assured destruction, is flawed. And mutually assured destruction, if you don't remember your high school civics, is the idea that no one could launch their nukes because they knew that as soon as they'd be detected flying over, the other side would launch theirs
and destroy the
everyone
world.
Would be super fucked.
So everybody has nukes to keep everybody else in check.
And Hot Coldman's idea was that no one in the world is crazy enough to launch nukes. So they'd always try to dismiss it as a false positive or wait until it was too late.
So whoever launches first is always the one who's going to win.
So his plan was to be the motherfucker crazy enough to launch nukes.
Yeah. To have a platform that will always launch nukes without human judgment, with an AI that will judge stuff, go launch nukes.
And
no
the
matter
first
what.
half of this I like, because there are a lot of stories of false positives and people like refusing to turn the key or whatever, and it turns out to be like seagulls or a meteor shower or whatever. Like that's real history. But then you have a man named Hot Coldman who's like, I'm gonna launch that goddamn nuke.
He wants to launch the nuke to prove that his weapons platform can launch a nuke in case somebody launches a nuke at them. Which is pretty ridiculous, but characters even in the game acknowledge that it's fucking ridiculous. But at this point, you know, Big Boss...
So you fight these AIs.
Yeah, Big Boss is growing an army at this point.
You collect a new round of buddies. You collect Nicaraguan Sandinistas.
Yeah, the Sandinistas, Amanda and Chico.
Some of Hot Coldman's staff who think he's bug fuck nuts.
Yeah, you get Huey. You eventually... You recruit Cecile, who is supposed to be Paz's friend, who is also captured. You find her later in the forest. There's a lady named Dr. Strangelove, who Huey is interested in because he's a weird nerd.
And while he's the like technical make the robots work, she's
the AI programmer
scientist, make the robot brains work.
Both she and Huey used to work at NASA, and while Dr. Strangelove worked at NASA, she met the boss and was she was in love with the boss. Yeah. They were a gay couple.
She was straight up smitten.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a couple implies they actually like had a relationship. Yeah, it was more one-sided crush thing, right?
Kinda, yeah.
Kind of.
But
relationships are sticky.
Yeah,
they don't make a lot of sense.
The AI she's programming for Peace Walker, the actual nuke launching platform, the AI has to be something that's super smart and like knows everything about every political situation everywhere, and
will infallibly follow.
Yeah, and has like amazing judgment. So she based the AI off the boss. So the AI for Peace Walker talks like the boss. It's not her. It just sounds like her.
But I mean, who else would like in the fiction of the game? It's a perfect choice. Like the person who would rather be disgraced as a traitor forever because that's the mission, than not do the mission.
Yeah.
The boss is fucking great.
So.
In a dramatic sense.
Yeah,
like, I don't think I'd want to party with her. She doesn't seem fun, but she's great.
Yeah, she's a great character. And the whole thing with Peace Walker sounding like the boss is like essentially this thing for Big Boss, who's still... Big Boss doesn't like the title Big Boss and wants everybody to call him Snake because he's upset with the name because he's upset that he had to kill the boss.
Right.
And the whole thing with
That's my mom and my dad.
The whole thing with Peace Walker is Snake has to destroy her, and it's like a metaphor for getting over having to kill the boss. And once... Peace Walker, the AI gets weird and it eventually submerges itself so it doesn't launch a nuke, because Hot Coleman is essentially setting a nuke to launch with like fake programming the AI to make it think there's a nuclear strike coming to prove it can launch a nuke. Right. You stop it and it submerges itself in the ocean so the pressure crushes it so it can't launch. And while this happens...
this thinly veiled KGB guy is trying to redirect the actual nuke so it strikes...
To the Americas.
The U.S.
Yeah, to start a war, essentially.
And because the first strike is U.S. versus U.S., Russia has a much, much better chance of winning.
Yes.
This one-day war that World War III
it's supposed to just hit D.C.
Yeah.
And Big Boss is able to stop it. Afterwards, Big Boss has amassed like a very large army, essentially, a PMC of sorts, which comes up a lot later on.
Eventually.
On this mother base, and you capture Galvez, whose actual name is Zadorov.
The doorknob.
The doorknob. You keep him mother base, but he keeps fucking escaping, so you have to capture him 6 times over, and nobody knows who's helping him escape. And you eventually find out, like, because you're also at the same time throughout this whole game developing a like, Metal Gear.
This is like the stuff we talked about the launch, and where's the launch going? And is it a fake launch? Is it a relaunch? And Snake has to call up his like one CIA buddy and prove he's the real Snake.
Yeah,
all that's the first ending, and then there's post-game contact that leads to the
secret ending. Is the really important part.
Yeah,
where.
Welcome to Metal Gear.
How is Zadorov escaping? Why is he escaping so many times? And it's because Huey and Strangelove, now both working for you, are developing your own nuclear launch bipedal mech platform so that Mother Base itself can have a nuclear deterrence.
Let's talk about goddamn Huey Emmerich, all right? Let's just take 1 minute to pause. So Huey is building these AIs for theoretical purposes.
Yeah.
And because nobody in the world is crazy enough to launch a nuke. And then he realizes Hot Coldman is that crazy motherfucker.
Uh-huh.
So he defects to MSF.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you, boss, though, you're one cool dude. I will build you a nuclear launch platform that is a walking tank.
It's not programmed the same way. It's just a tank where they can choose to launch a nuke or not. They have an AI that goes, should I launch a nuke?
But, this is an awful thing. We can't have this. Oh, but you're cool.
Well, he says he wants to use it to combat his past mistakes, thinking that the nuclear launch platform will help to combat the stuff he worked on before.
Oh, my poor past mistakes, but you don't make mistakes. You're a weird bear
Big
man
Boss will never make a mistake.
Who has shower fistfights with your bestie.
Yeah.
You are the guy who deserves the keys to nuclear Armageddon.
Uh-huh.
One thing I do enjoy about Huey is that I like the sort of pathos of his thing with bipedal tanks and robot legs, and he is wheelchair bound.
He is wheelchair bound.
And like, it's the most obvious broad thing, but that's what I like Metal Gear for, is just hammering the like soap opera.
Yeah.
There's no time for subtlety here.
Yeah.
Aspects of its characters.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I feel like if anything with all the characters in Metal Gear, at least they have decent motivations and stuff. They feel a lot more well-rounded than a lot of other characters. They have depth to them. They might be goofy or stupid, but
there's
thought put
depth
into them.
while being the farthest thing from subtle.
And most of the time, they're pretty consistent too.
Yeah.
There's only a couple that are like, what?
But that's Huey, and so we're back to the action.
So
Zadorov has been
escaping
for 6 times.
Zadorov has been escaping to serve as a distraction because another person we have had on base since the end of the game, the first ending, was Paz, who Galvez brought with him at the beginning of the game. Galvez / Zadorov. She is actually a secret agent, letting Zadorov out so that while he's out, she can go to the Metal Gear and modify it so that she can control it through the cockpit.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how obvious is it that it's Paz?
It's like 5.
Okay.
Because like after the 3rd time, it's like there's mentions of Paz like working in the kitchen and stuff, and it's like,
That's how obvious it is to you, the player. How obvious is it to Snake, the character?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Because she's supposed to be like a 16-year-old girl. She's actually in her mid-20s.
Does not figure it out.
She is a spy working for an organization called Cipher. And she hijacks your Metal Gear and gives Snake an ultimatum. Either come back to Cipher, who is being run by Major Zero.
Right. And this dude keeps rebranding his efforts. A lot. He's got a real problem with sticking with a name and a logo. His graphic design department is out of control.
So a little bit before this was when this organization to enact the boss's will was formed with the Philosopher's Legacy. It was Big Boss. The leader's Major Zero. And then it's the support crew from MGS3, so Paramedic and Sigint, and then Big Boss, Eva, and Ocelot. They were also impacted by the boss's will that they wanted enacted. There are some differences between them, and so Snake eventually leaves and starts the MSF
Snake's idea is to have this soldier party in the ocean to be soldiers all the time forever.
Yes.
While Zero's plan is to have wars constantly forever all the time. A globe
along with some other
surrounded by war.
Along with some other things that are going to come up later.
Yeah.
So Snake leaves and is trying to do it his own way, and Major Zero isn't happy with that, so he sends Paz, his spy, to do all this stuff. Sets him an ultimatum: either you take your army and make it Major Zero's army and rejoin him and be best friends with him again, or I will launch your nuke at the U.S. and frame you, and everyone on the Earth will annihilate you. But Big Boss and along with Mother Base are way too good, and they destroy Metal Gear Zeke, their own Metal Gear they've been working on.
Oh dear!
And when it blows up, it sends Paz hurling into the ocean.
Zeke is such a little kid name too.
Yeah,
it's like
they named it after
killed Metal Gear Jimmy, my only son.
Paz is thrown into the ocean. They presume she is dead.
And this is where what leads almost directly
into Ground Zeroes.
The prologue portion of Metal Gear Solid 5.
Snake and Miller knew the whole time that Galvez slash Zadorov and Paz were kind of spies.
Miller's not a moron.
Yeah. And he also did it on purpose because he knew it would be good for business, because he's a businessman.
Yeah.
Snake is the charismatic figurehead. Miller is the dude who gets shit done.
and one element of Peace Walker that's great is that it's about the legend of Big Boss.
Yes.
Like, because this game is a prequel, we know that Big Boss is a huge figure, and he is
a huge iconic
he casts
figure.
this huge shadow, and so you do things like lifting like 50-ton tanks on your shoulders in this game. And it's all about building the legend of Big Boss. But you see that what he actually does relies so much on his team, and the team primarily being Miller. Yeah. Which is it's an interaction I enjoy.
And this leads almost directly straight to Peace Walker, where everybody thought Paz was dead, but it turns out she's alive. She was found. She's being held in essentially a Guantanamo Bay type place now.
It's literally Guantanamo Bay.
It's basically they don't call it that.
X-ray, right?
They don't call it that, but it's essentially the exact same thing.
It's a CIA base in Cuba.
Yeah.
What the fuck else could it be?
Yeah, this CIA this base is also being run by Cipher, the organization that was formed before. And there is going to be suddenly a nuclear inspection of Mother Base by the United Nations. So they have to submerge Zeke and their nukes into the fucking ocean right now. And at the same time that's happening, they have to get Paz out because she's the only source of who knows where Cipher is and who comprises it. So Big Boss has to go back in.
And one of their other friends, the child soldier, because Big Boss is cool with child soldiers.
Chico, the younger brother of the leader of the Sandinistas.
The cryptid enthusiast child soldier.
Enthusiast. He had a crush on Paz. He found out he was supposed to be shipped out to Amanda back in Nicaragua or whatever, and he leaves by himself to go into Guantanamo Bay and find Paz because he still had a crush on her.
It's a rescue mission with 2 targets. Meanwhile, the rest of your team is dealing with UN inspections.
Yeah, some people a lot of soldiers are also being shipped away from Mother Base to make it like there's less of a soldier presence there. And while you're doing this, there is another unit named XOF, the reverse of Fox, the unit that Snake used to belong to. Xof. Led by a dude with a burnt-up face named Skullface. We don't know... Who knows what the fuck that dude's about yet. Skullface! But he has set up a Trojan horse, and so you rescue Chico and Paz.
Because you're just that damn good.
You're that damn good at this point. You're taking both of them back to Mother Base. You find out there's a bomb in Paz. You take it out of her, and it's like, oh, thank God, phew. By the time you're back to Mother Base, the UN inspection was also a ruse by Skullface's unit. They're blowing the fuck up out of Mother Base. Everything is fucked up and ruined. You save Miller at least. But then it turns out that Paz finally wakes back up and she has another bomb inside of her and it's super grimdark and all this stuff and it's dumb.
But that sets up the Phantom Pain, which is to be the bulk of MGS5.
Yeah, the other bomb inside of her blows up. And it sends Big Boss and Master Miller careening down to the ocean in a helicopter.
So if you're going to play Phantom Pain, and you haven't played any other Metal Gear game, that's all you need to know plot-wise that comes before it. And then comes things we don't know yet, because we're talking about this on the 22nd of August. The
Phantom Pain comes out in a little bit more than a week. Who knows what happens? Big Boss is in a coma for 9 years and wakes up.
It takes place in 1980. There's desert.
84, I think.
84?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
He is rescued by Ocelot.
Desert stuff happens. Ocelot is back.
You rebuild Mother Base. Ocelot saves Big Boss for some reason.
There's an organization called Diamond Dogs rather than MSF, but it's essentially the same.
You rescue Master Miller. You start building up Mother Base again. It looks like there's more stuff happening with Cipher and Major Zero, trying to figure out how to actually enact the boss's will.
We don't know. Depending on when you're listening to this, you know more than we do at this point.
Also around the time of Peace Walker and Ground Zeroes was the Les Enfants Terribles project.
And explain to me what that is. What did
Major
they do
Zero.
to poor
So,
Big Boss?
Big Boss left, and he was like the iconic figure of that organization that eventually becomes this thing called the Patriots.
And the reason the Cipher, or whatever Zero's calling his business these days, wants him is because without the best soldier in the world ever...
They lose like essentially their figurehead, their mascot, their icon.
He's the street cred.
Yeah.
They need him.
They need him because he brings like a whole lot of respect to the organization if this dude's with them.
They wax on the respect.
So the Les Enfants...
ZZ top their way.
Yeah. The Les Enfants Terribles project was essentially, let's create clones of Big Boss.
Yeah. The bad babies.
The clones were not born in test tubes. They were born in a surrogate mother. The surrogate mother being Eva. Oh my god, because she loved Big Boss.
She loved him so much while she was screwing him over and double-crossing him.
Yeah.
Man, you're my favorite dude. Yoink!
So, who knows what happened with the Phantom Pain, but after this point, Big Boss has this big mercenary company called Outer Heaven. At another point, he goes back to the U.S. to command the new Fox unit called Foxhound.
Foxhound! And Foxhound, at this point, is just a bunch of really good soldiers.
Yeah.
They've got a veteran named Frank and a rookie named Dave.
So, several clones of Big Boss are born.
Presumably other people, but they don't matter one lick.
Also, while Big Boss is doing all this stuff, he eventually meets several people in Africa. He meets Frank Yeager, who is a war buddy of his in Portable Ops and all this stuff. He met Frank Yeager way before when he was like 12. He was murdering Frenchmen, which is why his name is French Hunter.
For Hunter?
Yeah.
Sure.
And
isn't that German? Do you mean German?
German, yeah.
Yeah.
He meets Big Boss meets a whole bunch of people in Africa and like severely impacts their lives. There's Frank Yeager, there's Navy Hunter, there's a couple other, there's Sniper Wolf, who Big Boss goes by so many different names. Big Boss, the One-Eyed Man, Naked Snake, John, Saladin.
Saladin.
Yeah. Venom Snake.
Venom Snake? What
Venom Snake is
Snake?
Phantom Pain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Punish Snake, that's also Phantom Pain.
Punish Snake
There's
was
Punish Snake, and then there's Venom Snake and all of those. Serpiente and Peace Walker, which is really fucking funny. Vic Boss in Peace Walker as well. Good lord, he has so many names.
Okay, so now we've got to the point where the game series begins.
Yeah.
The original Metal Gear games on MSX.
So there's Outer Heaven.
Which is a computer gaming system that's only known for Metal Gear, I think.
Basically,
MSX.
a couple things, but that's like the biggest title from the MSX. Big Boss both commands Foxhound and secretly commands Outer Heaven in the early 90s.
Right. And Outer Heaven is doing some bad shit.
Yeah.
They got their own Metal Gear, and that's destabilizing the world.
Yeah.
And they've captured Frank Yeager.
Yep.
So they need to send in the rookie.
They send in this soldier, Solid Snake, who is one of the clones of Big Boss, but not they don't know that yet. He is sent into Outer Heaven. He rescues Frank Yeager. He kills Big Boss. That's the whole plot, essentially, of the first Metal Gear.
And he blows up the Metal Gear.
And he blows up the Metal Gear.
Right.
You have to place C4 in a very specific pattern on the legs of Metal Gear and blow them up. Metal Gear 2.
And then comes Metal Gear 2, also for the MSX.
There's another Outer Heaven. But you already killed Big Boss.
And it's in Zanzibar land.
In Zanzibar land, in Africa. Solid Snake is sent again.
Zanzibarland.
Yeah, Solid Snake is sent in again. This is like 1995, I think? Or no, 1999. 95 was the first Metal Gear, I believe.
Right. All of the Metal Gears from this point forward in the timeline are set in the near future. They're all a few years after
the game was developed.
The game was released, yeah.
Yeah. In Metal Gear 2, there's a scientist who's developing Oilix, which is like this bacteria that is waste products, where it's essentially gasoline and all that stuff. He's captured...
What does the bacteria eat to make gasoline
I don't know.
waste?
I don't know. It's like an actual real thing, though. Like, there's bacteria that can do that now.
If it has to eat people, I think that would really suck.
Yeah. I don't know what it exactly does.
If it eats, like, plastic, then fuck it. Go for it.
Yeah. But Solid Snake is sent again to another Outer Heaven in Zanzibar land. It turns out Big Boss is still alive somehow. And this time, Solid Snake kills him for real by lighting him on fire with an aerosol can and a lighter.
Mm-hmm. And not in the game... But in later retcons of this game, this is when Solid Snake finds out that Big Boss is his dad.
Yes.
His clone dad.
MGS1 claims that this is where Big Boss told him that.
Right. But if you actually play Metal Gear 2, That doesn't actually happen.
But at that point, Big Boss is like in his 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Like early mid 70s.
The sun has set on
he's still a really powerful man
John.
somehow. But after that, Solid Snake goes into essentially retirement. He goes to Alaska, he does Iditarod races, and he drinks a lot, and that's it. He lives in Alaska, fuck it. One of the people in your support staff for Metal Gear 2 is Master Miller, no longer with Big Boss.
In Metal Gear 2? Really?
Who knows what happens with between Master Miller and Big Boss? We'll probably learn that in the Phantom Pain. Maybe. I would hope so.
Maybe they're leaving that for Metal Gear Solid 6, which will never, ever happen.
Oh, it'll be a pachinko machine. A very plot-important pachinko machine.